The Goths were an East Germanic people, who are said to originate in what is now modern-day Sweden. Their territory stretched eastwards as far as the Black Sea. The 7th century scholar Isidore of Seville stated that the Goths had hair the color of dragon's blood, a red dye that comes from the dragon's blood tree. The Goths were related to the Scythian tribes of Central Eurasia, who were also sometimes described by writers as being red-haired. It's also been suggested by some that the name Russia denotes a red-haired people, with the name being similar to words such as russet, rose, and rusty. One Persian scholar stated the following about the Russians: their nationality in its entirety has red hair. There are also other accounts that place a red-haired nation in this region, not far from the famed tribes of Gog and Magog, who, according to legend, were locked up behind iron gates by Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great traveled to the region of Gog and Magog, so he got to see a nation with reddish hair and blue eyes. There's also this peculiar version of the tale, where the men and women live separate from each other, like the famed Amazonians. He left them and came to a people of red color and red hair, where the men folk and the women live apart from each other, and together for only 3 days a year. Whosoever wishes to marry is obliged to do so during these 3 days. If a woman gives birth to a male, she gives it to the father during these days, having weaned it from her breast. A female child, however, she keeps herself. There's also a prophecy relating to the city of Constantinople, which states that it is destined to be recaptured by people with red hair. This is generally thought to mean the Russians. One day, the red-haired people would reign over the place of the Seven Hills, and restore to Christianity its ancient capital. The famed Russian theosophist, Madame Blavatsky, a redhead herself, also spoke of red hair in her works. In Isis Unveiled she wrote, "In India, as well as in Russia, and some other countries, there is an instinctive repugnance to stepping across a man's shadow, especially if he have red hair. And in the former country, natives are extremely reluctant to shake hands with persons of another race. These are not idle fancies. Every person emits a magnetic exhalation, and a man may be in perfect physical health, but at the same time his exhalation may have a morbific character for others, sensitive to such subtle influences." Continuing, "The magnetism of a red-haired man, we have found, in almost every nation, is instinctively dreaded. We might quote proverbs from the Russian, Persian, Georgian, Hindustani, French, Turkish, and even German, to show that treachery and other vices are popularly supposed to accompany the rufous complexion." And in the legend of the Blue Lotus she wrote, "A prince who does not know how to die for his subjects is not worthy to reign over the children of the sun. He will be reborn in a race of red-haired peoples, a barbarous and selfish race, and the nations which descend from him will have a heritage ever on the decline." There's also a legend concerning Maiden's Tower. a tower in Baku, Azerbaijan, which speaks of a fire-haired girl who saves the people of Baku from slavery. The legend states that when the people were under siege from an enemy, and faced certain defeat, the priests prayed to the holy fire in the tower, asking for help. Then, the next day, the people saw that a large piece of the holy fire had fallen down from the top of the tower. A beautiful girl came out from the fire, with long, fire-colored hair. Picking up a sword, she then challenged, and beat, the enemy commander in one-on-one combat, saving the people. Finally, there are a people living in Russia called the Udmurts, also known as the Votyaks, who are said to be the most red-haired people in the world. In the 19th century, the Journal of the Royal Anthropological Institute of Great Britain and Ireland stated, "The Votyaks are the most red-headed men in the world, fiery red is the epithet." The Udmurts, meaning meadow people, apparently have the following sayings. A person with red hair is the sun's child. A red-headed person is closest to the gods. The gods love them.